All right, here we go. It is SNL. Cody Stoots is on a plane. He'll be in Detroit. We'll have boots on the ground tomorrow, courtesy of Houston football, with the update on what goes on during the joint practices with the Lions. As far as today, it was a very, 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 very light day for the Texans. There were some interesting things that happened, including one I really don't know how to explain. But other than that, just kind of a quiet day. I guess they've implemented the regular season media policy. The Texans have implemented their media policy. So there's not going to be as much in depth, and quite frankly, we don't watch much practice anyways. So the play by play, which me and Stoots don't do, we kind of save it for here. The where the guys lining up, whatever. The Texans have kind of tightened up when it comes to that. I kid. On the super chat, Logan Taylor, he asked the question, how confident are you in the current offensive line? You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Pretty confident-ish. I mean, I don't think it's going to be as bad as last year. I do think, though, that the offensive line is still going to be something that struggles over the course of games. Like right now, they're going against base defenses. They're fired up. Everybody on the offensive line is bought into what's going on. I don't want to say this is like a honeymoon phase, but I do think I do think eventually there's going to be some sort of struggles on the offensive line. So when you ask confident, I'm confident it's going to be a well-coached offensive line. I think Cole Popovich has done a really good job. But I think there will be some struggles because I just don't know that there's like an overwhelming amount of talent. But I do think they will coach it up. Will it be a strength of the team? Not really feeling that. So Cody's going to Detroit. We got some breaking news in that manner. He will be eating mom's spaghetti. The viewers / listeners have peer pressured Cody. I don't think they had to nudge him too hard. But he will be eating some of the mom's spaghetti in Detroit, which is an actual restaurant, I guess. I don't know if it's financed, owned by Eminem, but he will be eating the mom's spaghetti. So he'll either do it on his channel or he'll do it here. He'll have a review of mom's spaghetti, and we'll get to get a feel for what Cody thinks of that spaghetti. On the soup, Von Clutch.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Kay Adams mentioned Sting versus Amon Ra tomorrow. Yeah, Kay Adams says a lot. I can't watch her interviews anymore, too, man. They sound like, you remember when you used to call like the Love Line back in the day? Or you didn't call the Love Line, but you would see like the infomercials. This is for my millennials, and it would be like, hey, call me for a good time. That's what her interviews are starting to sound like. Ever since she asked about Ladarius Henderson to Nick Caserio, I've really just kind of been, okay. She's just scrolling through a few tweets, and I thought that was a big misrepresentation. So I know she has some good guests. There's some sound clips and stuff, but as soon as she asked Nick Caserio about Ladarius Henderson, I'm kind of good on what Kay Adams said. But yeah, St. Brown versus Stingley will be an interesting thing for sure. But yeah, you lost me at Kay Adams said. No offense. Different strokes for different folks. It's a subjective business. There's plenty of people who listen to. I just don't need like, hey, that's so funny. That's so funny. Oh, yeah, you're talking to an old lady. So what about this offense? I'm good on it, man. I like the stuff. She's definitely hotter than me. Justin's not breaking news there. And that's why she's able to do it, because guys like you, guys like the athletes and the money behind, they just kind of gawk over it. Like there's not hot chicks on the internet. Like this, there's hot chicks all over the internet. I'm not questioning the looks. There is no doubt about that. Justin T. That is a fact. So the question right now for the Texans is, what's up with Joe Mixon? And I have a couple of layers to this. There's two questions in a statement when it comes to Joe Mixon. Because we know the Texans. God, that's the fourth time I've done this. I got to get this right. The Texans have kind of established almost like a paranoid identity when it comes to injuries. It's kind of uncomfortable, the manner in which they just like overthink the injury. I think there is a time during the week when you don't want to just come out and say this guy isn't going to play. But when a guy's going to miss a month or so, like you can say, well, he's going to be out for a while. I think it actually does. If it is a player thing and not just an organization thing, then I think that's probably the right approach. But the Texans, they do things the way that they do with the injuries. Joe Mixon's an interesting one. We heard the whispers in the offseason that he was in a boot. The reports were not real clear. We didn't get like a clear answer as to what was up with Joe Mixon. And then we find out that Joe Mixon is going to miss training camp and maybe he'll be ready for the Rams. And now it's just kind of starting to feel like, well, maybe there's not much going on. I don't know. But it does feel like we're heading in the direction of a running back committee. How long? Who knows? And even with Mixon, I think there's a running back committee as well, because you can't expect this guy to just not ramp up, be in a new offense, and just be a workhorse. That's a lot to ask. If it happens, awesome. I mean, he's one of the more talented backs in the league, but I think you're heading towards a committee no matter what. Now, less than a week from now, we'll probably get some confirmation of what's going on based on the way the lists that he's perhaps put on and the decisions they make at running back. So the Mixon thing is really just kind of it's the most important thing right now with the Texans. It's really like, of all the questions, there's like some low-level questions. We can talk about, who's going to be the number 5 corner, number 4 and 5 corner. Who's going to be what are they going to do at safety? Who are they going to keep at safety? Linebacker, a little bit interesting. On the D line, we'll get to the most interesting question in that area in a second. But the Joe Mixon thing right now is the most interesting thing that is going on. It's the most relevant because they've got to play this right. And I think the right way to play this, and this is the statement, we'll get to the other question, is they need to be cautious with Joe Mixon. They got a good enough football team. They got a good enough defense. They got a good enough quarterback. They got a good enough special teams unit to where you don't have to rush a running back with a hurt foot. You can still win games. It's obviously easier with Joe Mixon, but they got to be very cautious with this. I mean, this is a position where a lot of people are cautious to begin with. They got to be very cautious. And Stoots believes that if he starts out on IR or whatever, or on PUP, and doesn't play the first 4 weeks of the season, he thinks he doesn't come back till after the bye, because you don't want to play him the week before the bye. So that would be a 6-week rest. If he misses, if he's announced as out 4 games, then maybe it's kind of a 6-week rest. But they got to be very careful when it comes to Joe Mixon. They got to be cautious. They got to be very cautious. And it might not be their decision. They might not have a choice. It might not even be cautious. They might not have a choice to what to do with Joe Mixon. But it's getting weirder and weirder. And we know that they're really weird when it comes to the injuries. But the Joe Mixon thing is definitely something to watch. The other question, and this has been kind of emerging on the net, is should the Texans be in the running back market? I know Brian Robinson Jr. was a name that was being thrown out. Should the Texans be in the running back market? My question would be, who do you want to replace? Because it seems like there's 4 backs that they have right now that they would function without Mixon. You have Nick Chubb, Woody Marks, Dare Gumbawale, and Dameon Pierce. Now, we don't know about Dameon Pierce, but let's just revisit what Nick Caley said when I asked him about if Dameon Pierce needed in-game action to be trusted in a game. Is it important for Dameon to get in-game action before you trust him in a game in your system?
Yeah, I would say this. Damien's played a good amount of football. He's a physical, violent runner. You get to see him out here. It's not like this is an unknown commodity. So whatever we feel is best for the reps, that'll be it. But, I've watched Damien. I've had an appreciation for him for a while. And, I think he wants to go out there and just be at his best every single day. And I'm excited to get him back out here with us.
Yeah, I mean, and how much do they trust him? Do they trust him in an actual game? So let's say that the Texans are in the market for a running back. What would the approach be? Do you want to upgrade over Nick Chubb? Do you want to upgrade over Dameon Pierce? I don't know that they're going to try to find someone to replace Dare Ogunbowale because everything he does special teams wise and how much they trust him situationally. I mean, he's just kind of hung around and taking advantage of the way in which they handle the running back position. Woody Marks, obviously, you're not replacing. So naturally, I think if you're going to bring in Brian Robinson or you're going to bring in another running back, assuming that Joe Mixon's going to be gone for a while, there's a couple of things that cross my mind here. Number one is if you're doing that, then you've got to think that maybe the Mixon thing's a little bit worse. If you don't trust these guys to hold it down and you're immediately trying to upgrade, on one hand, you could think that the Mixon thing is worse than perhaps we can even imagine. The other thing is you got to wonder, do they want to upgrade over Chubb or do they want to upgrade over Pierce? Because I think those are the two guys. One of those two guys would be who this running back would come in and replace. So is Brian Robinson better than Dameon Pierce right now? I mean, maybe, probably. We haven't seen what Dameon Pierce looks like right now. He does look like he's in good shape. They do seem to like him. It is a new system. The system was the biggest knock. Is Brian Robinson better than Nick Chubb right now? Maybe. I just don't know if it's really worth doing that when you've had these guys all camp and there's not like some upgrade. Like if you're telling me that they're going to bring in a stud running back, then obviously, yes, that's a yes. But like just bringing in bodies, I think it would kind of be an eyebrow raise if they so decided to do that. Let's go back to the soup.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Shane says over under 1.5 squabbles at joint practice tomorrow. I think it might be a little bit more chill. And that's the other thing that I've said with this offense. There's the main goal for training camp right now. There's one main goal. It's get through tomorrow. This joint practice that they're having, it just seems like weird timing. This kind of seems like the time where I would like to kind of rest some of the defensive guys. It has a strong potential to be very intense, and just get through this. You're not going to see any of your starters in preseason game this Saturday. You don't want anyone getting hurt. Despite the fact that we've talked about the Joe Mixon, that happened in the offseason. I feel like the Brevin Jordan thing obviously wasn't great, but you've had a relatively healthy camp at this point. Just get through it tomorrow. I almost wouldn't even want Will Anderson practicing tomorrow because he's going 100 miles an hour. But Dan Campbell has come out and said this is going to be an intense practice. We're going to get better, blah, blah, blah. Okay, just get through it. So tomorrow when Cody's got his boots on the ground in Detroit for the joint practices, I think that the best thing that can happen, he's going to give us an update. He's going to give us a play-by-play of what went down. But the best thing that can happen is they just get through it healthy. It's really that simple when it comes to the whole thing. So squabbles, I would say under 1.5. I'll take under. If I was going to say there's going to be a squabble, I will say Dalton Schultz or Russ Yeast would be my picks. Chance Harris on the super chat says, is CK13 being slept on? Also, how did Tet look? You're talking about Christian Kirk.
Captain Kirk, can you you say, man? Captain Kirk, I wanna have your baby.
I mean, I think it depends what slept on is. I think there's a good chance that Christian. All right, we're going Blair Witch Project now. Here, it only happens when Cody goes down. So we're in the studio, little behind the scene. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me on the chat. So the Christian Kirk thing is interesting because I think if you're talking about sleeping on him, like as far as a number 2 receiver, I would say perhaps that there's a little bit of snooze factor with Christian Kirk, but do I anticipate that he's just going to have like the best season of his career? No. But CJ Stroud clearly likes throwing to guys out of the slot, and Christian Kirk is clearly a guy that is very comfortable in the slot, and Nick Caley is an offensive coordinator that seems to value slot receivers. So there's that. I don't think he's being like incredibly slept on, but I would say that as far as being a number 2 receiver, there's that factor. God, we're going Blair Witch. This is a disaster. I got my Roadcaster out, all of that, like unplugged. Don't know what we got going on here, but it's not awesome. For sure. Chance Harris on the soup. He said, let me get the starred. Here, let me try to get back on the comp. Chance Harris on the soup was asking a question. We'll get to that. We're still live. This is a bleep show. And now the roadie's down. Ain't that a mofo? The Roadcaster. I blame this on Stoots. I'm gonna blame this on Stoots. So we're gonna have to go bad audio here, but we got to make do. I don't know how to make ranch dressing, but I know how to make do. So we're gonna get out of here quick. This is trash. We're gonna get this Roadcaster fixed. Look at the Roadcaster there. Not great. Not the greatest stuff going on right now. But on the chat, is he being slept on? I think he can be a wide receiver too. I took him in the second to last round. If you're just tuning in, we're going old school. The mic is not working right now, so we'll figure that out. But I took him second to last round in my draft, if that tells you anything. Hackashack says they have 4 backs and 2 can't even stay healthy. This is true. I mean, this is just reality of the situation. They don't. Nick Chubb hasn't been able to stay healthy. Dameon Pierce hasn't been able to stay healthy. So that would be true. Mike Banks says Robinson is a starter in the NFL. Chubb and DP aren't. Wouldn't disagree with you on that. HDAV, shout out to you, my friend. Birdie's Boy says, thank you, SNL, for flying all over the country to give us the daily scoop. Who do you think the captains will be this year? You think Mixon gets a C? I don't think Mixon gets a C because he's not going to start the season. I don't think. Don't quote me on that. Or you can. It's just a thought. I would say, Patrick says, Aaron Wilson is reporting that technology is working great. I'm worried about my Roadcaster, man. That mofo went down. That's the problem. Look at this. The Roadcaster is out. Did something come unplugged or what? That's a mofo right there. I got the backup, but damn, that hurts. TMI for y'all. I get it. Who do you think the captains will be? Will Anderson will be a captain. CJ will be a captain. Petrie will be a captain, I think. Will Anderson, CJ Petrie. And then maybe Lakin Tomlinson. I could see Lakin Tomlinson actually being one. Like if they want to take one from the O-line, I could see Lakin Tomlinson. So those would be my 4 guesses. I'll go Petrie, Lakin Tomlinson, CJ, and Will Anderson. Daniil Hunter definitely will not be. Or not Daniil Hunter. Daniil Hunter might be. Jimmy Ward definitely will not be. You heard it here first. You can quote me on that. Wag says afternoon to you. The struggle is real with Cody out there. This would happen when he was gone. So little thing before I get out of here that I thought was weird. So I did not anticipate waking up this morning to the news that the John Weeks replacement, a.k.a. the kid from West Virginia, I'm not going to say his name. I don't want Weeks mad at me. So I won't even say his name. His name is the Weeks replacement. He's from West Virginia. He looks like he's 12, but he has a mustache. He was not at practice today, and the Texans actually signed a long snapper with a little bit of NFL experience by the name of Blake Ferguson, and they waived tight end Trey McKitty, who we hardly knew. Trey McKitty, he's gone. I don't know what to make of this. Like I don't even know where to start when it comes to the Texans bringing in a long snapper and their original long snapper not being there. I don't know if it's something that they were displeased. I don't know if the guy's sick. I don't know if the guy's hurt, but it's kind of weird. John Weeks never got hurt. He was here damn near 20 years. And John Weeks never got hurt. But now you have this random guy that's your deep snapper, and then 2 weeks before the season, he's gone, and they bring in some random long snapper. I have no idea what's going on. Less than a week before they're handling camp, he's gone. I have no idea what's going on with that. Makes no sense to me. Very, very weird. Final thing before I get out of here with Danico Autry is he part of the plan? Is Danico Autry part of the plan? Their D-line definitely needs to get younger. And I think the 2 positions that we've talked about, running back and defensive line, when the draft comes around in 8 months, I think that's going to be the main debate. Do you go D-line or do you go running back? Both. I think eventually both of those positions get drafted with premium picks because you need a long-term running back and you need some youth at D-line. Their D-line is old. The Texans have a really old D-line. Like all of the reserves are old. They're older players. From Mario Edwards to Tim Settle. Tim Settle's not overly old. To Danico Autry, Foley Fatukasi. Like these are older players. They're going to have to get younger on the D-line. I'm sure that excites D'Amico Ryans because he hasn't really been able to use like premium picks on interior D linemen. And I bet it's something that they probably evaluate at a pretty high level. But Danico Autry's in his mid-30s. He's been banged up since you brought him in. You have a lot of guys that you like. You have the best edge duo in the league. Your interior guys are performing at a decent level. Darrell Taylor, it seems like they've been testing him a lot. He's kind of passed the test. You do wonder if Danico Autry is going to be a part of what they got going. Now, maybe he starts off on some list and he's basically on standby. I don't know, but I could see Danico Autry not being on this team. But is he part of the plan? I think that's a question that is going to be one of the more interesting things that we find out when we react to the 53 live right here on SNL in less than a week. Appreciate y'all for rolling with me. Don't know what the hell happened with this roadcaster. I'm actually kind of terrified. But I'll figure it out. And I appreciate y'all for coming through. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to like. Be sure to ride along. Be sure to always remember, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. And as Cody Stoots would say,
live from Detroit tomorrow. Eat good, sleep good, be good. We'll talk Texans again soon. Thanks for watching, everybody.